I'm beat. I'll tell you, this working outside, manual labor, I just love it. Makes you feel alive. Makes you feel alive. So we had a greenhouse built. I mentioned that by Montana Shed, and we had it brought in place, and I'd already prepared with some stones the place for it. But then what you have to do, first off, I was really pleased that everything was level. I was surprised, but it was, and it's a pretty good size one. It's 10 by 10. So then what you do is you put gravel on the inside of it. But I did these landscaping ties around it because it's elevated because of the treated timbers underneath. So the gravel will fill up where I have this border of these landscape ties. It looks really cool. When it's all finished, we'll go out and do a video on it soon and kind of show you what we're doing. And this is all for getting things started, obviously, because we live in a pretty high elevated place. It's not super, I think it's around 5,000 feet, but northern Utah, you know, it's tough, and especially with this last winter. But then what we're hoping is that lettuces and a few things that we can have fresh all year long. I have a heater, thermostat control heater in this, as well as a thermostat control louver vent fan that will suck the hot air out for the summertime so it won't get too hot. And I dug a trench from the, we call it a barn, this big detached garage kind of barn thing. Anyway, I had to get power. I wanted to get power to the greenhouse, so I dug this trench. Had an electrician come over the other day and put in the conduit, and then he'll do I do the stuff that doesn't require anything up here, and he does all the stuff that's here, as well as physical. I'm amazed at people that know trades. I think they're the welding, electrician, plumbing, heating and air, mechanics, I don't know, contractor, builders. To me, that's the lifeblood, and think about what that means, the lifeblood. And speaking of blood, this is I think my third one today of Cardio Miracle. Oh, that's good. That is good. Nitric oxide. Do a little study on nitric oxide, and you will be amazed. I was listening to Alex Jones the other day, and he's now selling and advertising nitric oxide supplement, and has a doctor on, telling all about it. And I'll tell you, the Cardio Miracle formula with nitric oxide and all the other good stuff that's in it is absolutely amazing. And in my opinion, critical, especially as we age. The things I'm able to do at 65, I wear out, I do, and I'm kind of worn out right now, but I think we need every edge that we can find. And I've tried a ton of different supplements over the years. Not a big fan of drugs, medication. Cardio Miracle's been my favorite. I'll just say it. I love it. I'll put the link to order if you want to try it out. Many of you have and have had really, really good success. John's been traveling. John Hewlett, he is the founder of Cardio Miracle, and he has been all over. And I can't wait to get with him and his sweet wife, Janet, and we can talk about Cardio Miracle and what a blessing it is, and some of the new science and research and all the things about the nitric oxide. It basically opens up your blood vessels, and you get blood flow, which then you get oxygen to all different levels, which would have just huge benefits all over the place. So I don't know how I got off on that, but I love it. Okay, I'm going to be talking about President Oaks and Sister Oaks' talk to the young single adults, as well as seniors graduating very soon, a fireside that they did Sunday night. I've listened to it twice now, and I'm always a Johnny come lately on these things. It's not that I don't know about them. It's just that I take a little time to listen and look at it and kind of think about things before I immediately react. Before I do that, I've got to tell you what happened to our daughter Caitlin yesterday. So Caitlin is the mom of our little Jane that so many of you have prayed for and put her name on the temple rolls and just kind of sent things. I mean, I'm telling you, you're just amazing. We're so grateful for the kindness shown. So yesterday, Jane's doing so much better, okay? She was, I think they call it TBN. It's a nutritional mulch that goes into her PICC line. It's just this stuff that gives her nourishment because she's really, was having trouble eating and whatnot. So she still had that, and she still had the PICC line, and she still had this stuff that was feeding her. So yesterday, Monday, was the day where she had to go in for a checkup, have all of her blood work done, and there was a chance that perhaps the PICC line could be removed and she could rely, because she was starting to eat a little bit, and there was all these things. So it wasn't going to be a heavy duty day. So Caitlin decided to take her oldest daughter, who's an amazing big sister through all this, and then a younger brother to the doctor's office. About, I don't know, 45, 50 minute drive, probably closer to an hour drive from where they live. On their way there, the car breaks down. It just stops. And she's in the fast lane on the freeway going, and so there's nowhere to go but to the shoulder on the left-hand side of the freeway. So now you're kind of in the middle of everything. You're not off on the right-hand side, which would have been a lot more convenient. You're on the left-hand side. So she calls me, and we go through I look up on YouTube what the warning light said, and it looked like it was probably electrical. I said, well, let's say, actually, I got to give credit where credit's due. Sue was on the phone with us, and Sue says, well, let's say a prayer right now. And so we prayed that things, might start up again, and the car was still running but not going anywhere. Turned the car off. Well, that was my idea, because I saw it on YouTube, and then it wouldn't restart. So I said, Caitlin, we've got to call the cops right off the bat. They've got to help you here, because you're in a dangerous, you're on a freeway, and you got a car full of kids, and da-da-da. Well, and then call AAA. We had AAA, so that was great. So that worked out. Well, two police officers that happened to be women came to the rescue. So this is my shout out to law enforcement, police officers. These women were amazing. They made sure that this little family was safe. And I'll probably get a little teary-eyed here, but They put on their sirens, the lights, they did everything. They protected them. They got them out one at a time. These women knew what they were doing. And car seats, showed them out. Different ones in different police cars, and then took them to a convenience store, made sure they were set and okay. Helped Caitlin figure out how to download the Uber app, call an Uber, that she called the hospital/office. It's kind of an attachment or part of the same complex in Temple, Texas. Called them, said, hey, this is what's happened. We're going to be late. They said, hey, as soon as you can get here, we'll take care of little Jane. The Uber guy shows up. He's from Lebanon. And yes, they have to get the big Nissan van, I call it the assault vehicle, to get all the car seats and the kids in. And this guy from Lebanon takes them to the appointment, gives them his information, and says, when you're ready to come home, you call me, and I will take you back home. And I told Caitlin, I said, I've seen Lebanon. I've seen a city in Lebanon from Israel's side. And I said, I've always wanted to go to Lebanon and also Syria and all those areas around. And it's just kind of difficult, the way things are, but it's just such good people. Leadership, and, you have Hezbollah. Anyway, I won't get into that, but this guy was awesome. So the appointment went great. She got her PICC line out. Jane did. Everything good. And then the car got towed to the dealership to get fixed. Ended up being a battery and an alternator. The battery was really dead, bad, and it needed an alternator. So that's what blessings. The Uber driver from Lebanon picked him up, took him home. They had a great conversation and all that. So just such good people and blessings, even though it was quite a disastrous, stressful, time. So had to tell you that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this fireside. Before we talk about the fireside, I wanted to mention about the UN president, I think, visiting the first presidency. I can't stand the UN. I'm hoping and thinking that this is more of a keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. I know the church teams up with some of these globalist organizations, which I'm not a fan of, but you know what? I'm going to trust that whatever they do, it's on them, and I'm not going to worry about it. It's beyond my control. I just have to express that I saw it and I was like, geez, kind of thing, but not the end of the world for me. Say hi to them, do a few things here and there. But there has been some things that has been done by the humanitarian efforts of the church, teaming up with some of these organizations, UNICEF being one. Man, I'm not a fan. But like I say, if it's not the right thing, that's on them, and it has no reflection on how I feel about church leadership or my testimony of the restored gospel through the prophet Joseph and President Nielsen being our prophets here in Revelator today. Has no effect on that. It's just, I just don't like it. Okay, so there you have that. This fireside was, for me, out of the park. By out of the park, we're in baseball season. I'm not a huge fan in the sense I don't know players now and all that, but baseball is just one of those sports, that have so many analogies that fit the gospel. Running around the plates, to come home, to come home, experiencing life and doing all the things. A good friend of mine, I'll just say his first name, Lane, because he might not want me to say his full name, but he did an analogy. He was a huge baseball fan, and about baseball being one of these symbolic sports that really represent the gospel. And he did a whole thing on it. It was quite fascinating. But when you say hit it out of the park, when I say President Oaks hit it out of the park, that's a baseball term. It's a home run. You could even say a grand slam in that there were bases loaded, right? I thought it was so good. Now, there were some things in there that I was like, oh, please say this, but that's fine. I thought this was so just bam, straight down the line. You got to listen to it, I think, multiple times. Initially, I didn't like it as much. I thought there was more emphasis on love and, hold hands, kumbaya, and all that kind of stuff. But if you really listen to it, you'll feel that the doctrine of Christ and the marriage between a man and a woman, sex between a man and a woman, married, all those kind of things are really, really taught well. And that's where you go with. And then the rest of it is, we still have to love people. We still have to treat them with respect. I don't think anybody's that I know of has ever said we shouldn't. So that's why I get confused. I guess I'm just not around people that treat others, that do things that are contrary to how we would believe, but we still, let them, give them their swath, give them their path, their space, if that's really what they want to do. But that doesn't have anything to do with saying that certain things are bad or certain things lead to depression or anxiety or, whatever. So President Oaks brought up some statistics. Now, look, I'm gonna say some things that I know are gonna be some people are gonna take it like I don't believe in the church and all this. I don't know why people go that route. I've been a frontliner for this gospel my whole life and never back down. So but having said that, the church relies on statistics just like the rest of us do. And there's reaction to, there are things that are being reacted to based on what research or polls or statistics bring out. Then they go, ooh, crap, they might not say, ooh, crap, but, we have to make an adjustment here. We have to address this. This is a concern of ours. Now, some people feel, and I don't know why, but some people feel like that if you say that the church relies on statistics, then what you're saying is that our leaders aren't prophets, seers, and revelators, the 15 men. Because they should be able to, and they do, see everything because God reveals it to them. And that's just not true. It's just not true. I've been around it enough. I know they rely on information. Good information leads to good inspiration, and understanding. Now, obviously, there's things that God is going to reveal to them, but for the most part, that has to do with keys and ordinances, covenants, priesthood, ordinations, things of that nature. But the statistics that President Oaks brought up were from either the church looking at statistics or the within the church, or the church looking at statistics that have been taken over, with groups in the United States, government, whatever. I'm going by memory of listening to this a couple of times, but there was one statistic that they brought up about how people getting married for the first time, just being married for the first time, has dropped, significantly. So just people aren't getting married as often. It's just not happening. And you'll have to watch the video to get the exact numbers. Within the church, that it's getting later and later. I think it's in the last, I can't remember how many years, but I think from, say, 20 years, I don't know, I can't remember what the statistic was, but young people are 5 years older out on average than what they were just a few years ago in getting married. They're delaying, and it's quite prevalent. This wasn't in the talk, but I just read another statistic. I think it was on Fox News, that I get a little tickler on my phone once in a while, because I really don't watch it much anymore. It's just, it doesn't do anything for me. But it's that there's a greater percentage now, for the first time, of people in the United States that don't believe in a God, than do. So more people don't believe. That's crazy to me. And it's, you can't say that we're a Judeo-Christian country anymore. So that's crazy. That wasn't part of his talk. That just came to my mind, but I think it kind of goes along with the subject matter. The having children was huge, and he talked about that, and I'm so glad he did, because this is something that the world teaches. Don't bring children into the world, and this then goes along with the alphabet community, because children just aren't produced through that community. Now, you can adopt and you can do other things, but you cannot produce. You get two of the same sex, or if you get things chopped off or mutilated, this and that, it's over. You're not producing children. And so it's not only the idea of children are expensive, or the world's too scary, I don't want to bring children into the world, with a heterosexual couple. That's one thing. And I think my gut told me that that's more of what President Oaks was referring to. But also, he did mention in a very tactful way of these other actions, thoughts, groups of people that are doing things that marginalize children. And everything from abortion to trafficking. I mean, there's so many things. And he didn't say abortion. He didn't say child sacrifice or child trafficking or anything like that. But he did insinuate that the value of bringing children into the world has just diminished. And that's within the church as well. So some really interesting statistics. This wasn't a happy skippy. There were a few funny things, and the interchange between he and his wife was great. But I thought it was so well done. Now, he brought up a question of a 16 or 18-year-old that was really powerful, and it was basically our question. What in the heck? Why are we supporting the alphabet soup and in our church meetings? And here I'm trying to live the religion, and I'm being asked to do my pronouns and blah blah blah. I thought it was so good. And the response that President Oaks gave wasn't how I would have done it, but it was how a distinguished legal mind and a prophet, seer, and revelator would do it. It was very well thought out, and he addressed it. And basically, it's this: you love God by keeping His commandments, and you can love your neighbor better by loving God first, because that's what Christ said are the two great commandments. And so you obey the commandment, but you still allow people their agency to do things, which is great and it's fine. But I would carry that question a little bit further, let me just back up a little bit. Here's what I think was so important, that he acknowledged that was taking place. He wouldn't have read that letter or that question from that young lady if he, as a prophet, seer, and revelator, didn't know that was happening in church. That was a great message, because he was saying, yeah, this crap shouldn't be happening. But he did it in a very tactful way. So definitely sign of the times. This is not a video or something that's like, gosh, you youth, you're chosen for these last days and you're such valiant spirits and blah, blah, blah. No, it was more like, you guys have some real major issues and problems, and the only answer is Jesus Christ, turning to Him, repenting of your sins. And he brought up the woman caught up in adultery, and he said this is the perfect way to deal with it. He didn't degrade the woman, and in all reality, the Pharisees were trying to capture or catch Jesus in a compromising way. Like, hey, is he going to blow it with us, or is he going to blow it with the Romans, with their law? It was really, really well done, and Christ handled it perfectly because He's a perfect being. And first He diffused the situation and took away the immediate threat by having the Pharisees look at themselves. He who is without sin cast the first stone, right? And they just kind of dispersed. But the very last words He said to the woman, He says, I don't condemn you, but He says, go away and sin no more. Now, you hardly ever hear that anymore, but President Oaks taught that. But you don't hear that anymore. It's like, we have to love these people. We have to accept. We have to do this. Sue, my wife, my companion, she went to a baby shower recently, and in this setting, as things were winding down, the whole thing of Target, the store Target, and all the shiz they sell for, like women bathing suits that allow for a package, right? For a transgendered male who wants to be a female, but hasn't had anything cut off yet. And all this other stuff that they sell. It's just so ridiculous. And there was a finger wagging at this shower by someone who had a trans son, and said, you better be careful. The prophet said you have to love everyone and you can't talk this way. Well, that's BS. That's Bolshevik. You're not attacking one person and condemning a person, but you're saying this is not right, and it never leads to happiness. It never leads to happiness. When people start doing these things, it was so fascinating to me that the prophet immediately went to the transgender thing, and then later did the same sex. Who would have ever thought that just a few years ago? I mean, the gays and lesbians had front stage and they were so important. And now they're kind of like, we're dealing with, people cutting this off and cutting that in and off and tucking this in and doing this and that and taking hormone treatments. It's funny when I talk about this kind of stuff with people, and in my family. So some of our married kids, they prefer that you use, at least the women, they prefer that you use the term for female and male anatomies, the proper terms, I guess. And the guys, most of us guys, we're like, you get the this and the that, and we use the slang words. And one of my kids, she said, we really prefer that, you'd use, and I said, yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to call that. I'm going to call it this, so anyway, that's kind of a side thing. What was I getting at? Oh yeah. So President Oaks, so in just a few short years, now we're dealing with this. Now, he didn't address the mutilation of the body, but he addressed the trans. He even called it gender dysphoria. That's the phrase, gender dysphoria, or the description. We didn't even talk about. We didn't even know what that was a few short years ago. There might have been a few people. You had Bruce Jenner. And you just kind of look at them like, yeah, they're part of that family that does reality TV and, whatever. Who knows? But now it's infiltrated the church big time, and most families have you might have to go out a little ways, but you're affected by it. And wards, stakes, branches, they're affected by it. And the same-sex attraction thing is kind of taken a back burner. But the bottom line is all these letters of the alphabet lead to no children. And President Oaks just nailed it, how they were, that God loves children. And he wants us to have children, and we shouldn't delay it. And young men should get on the stick and get married quick in life, and get past the, it was kind of funny. He did a video from 20 years ago. He showed his talk, I think it was from 20 years ago, how he's telling young men, it's time after your missions or whatever, it's time to get married. And start a family. The later you wait, the harder it is, So he did bring up a couple of other things that I thought was interesting, and that is the cost of housing and student debt that kind of plays into this not having a family. And he really didn't have a lot of answers other than he said, watch your debt. And that's why, immediately I'm thinking of, gosh, if people would learn a trade, these college degrees, so many of them are so worthless, and you go into debt and there's nothing out there. And, unless you're really after a specific profession, a trade, we're going to need people that know to actually how to do something. So engineering, computers, programming, all that stuff is so critical, as well as the other trades I mentioned. But so it was a fantastic talk. My take on it is that this felt like, I'm not predicting anything, I'm not even thinking of anything, but when I heard him speak, I went, wow, things could be a little different if or when he became president of the church and everything fell on him. I was quite pleased of what I heard. So I talked about the connection I have with President Oaks. He set Sue and I apart as presiding over a mission. He actually interviewed us to do that calling, and then set us apart. Who actually called us for it was President Eyring. So, you know, you have this affinity with people that you know just a little bit or have had some interaction, and we've been blessed to have that interaction. I'm just grateful that we have leaders that say it like it is. He referred to the proclamation, the family, proclamation to the world, the family, that's a document that should be paid attention to. So good stuff, healthy reminders. Not a lot of fluff in this fireside, which I loved. So if you have kids, grandkids that fit in that age group, and they haven't had a chance to see it, I didn't watch it live. I watched it. Actually, I didn't even watch it. I listened to it, and I skipped all the music and the introduction. I can't stand introductions. You know, let's get through that. Let's just say, you know, President Oaks is going to talk to us, and probably his wife too, and sit down. The introductions to me just drive me nuts. But that's just a pet peeve, not a deal breaker. Church is still true, guys. I know the church is true. So I think that's it. I know there's something else I want to mention, but I will be talking about Matthew 24 and 25 and the Joseph Smith Matthew 1 in the Pearl of Great Price. I'll be talking about that in a later video. There's just so many good gems, and I've covered a little bit, but I want to get into more of that. This for those of us that are watchers for the second coming of the Savior. These are big chapters of Scripture and verses of Scripture. But I really wanted to talk about that fireside by President and Sister Oaks. So that's it. God bless. Thank you for all your goodness. You're just the most wonderful people in this community. It really means a lot to Sue and I. Church last week or the week before, we took our seats in the back, Sue and I, and this couple came up to us that were visiting, that follow our channel, and it was so fun. They sat right in front of us, and their daughter lives in our ward, and it was just like an instant friendship that we had with these good folks, and it's good. All right, I love you all, and I will talk to you very, very, very soon. Goodbye.